So I wanted to come out to the garden today. One, I'm gonna do a big giant arrangement for fun because we have a lot of dahlias in bloom right now. But two, I wanted to talk about my favorite flowers that I grow in my cut flower garden to make very interesting and dynamic arrangements. So I'll talk about the 4 different types of flowers that really are what create that dimension and interest in an arrangement. And then I'll also talk about how to grow them and how I grow them in my raised bed garden that I have out in my backyard. I do want to also say that I am on my 5th year of more of hobby gardening. I'm trying to learn as much as I can, so I'm happy to take you on that journey with me. But I do want to say too that while I have dove into the varieties I'm going to talk about today and I'm actively growing them, you can start anywhere. It can be a small packet of zinnias that you grow around your mailbox that cut and come again all summer long. There's such a variety of options to start that you don't have to dive full in and grow all of these types I'm going to talk about today, but just start somewhere. It's such a beautiful opportunity to bring flowers into your home, color into your home all summer long. If you grow enough too, you can share them with neighbors, with friends, with family. And just really spreads that joy of flowers, and I love doing that myself as well. So yeah, we'll dive in and talk about, I'll actually go around and cut some examples as I talk through them, and then I'll hop back in here and we'll talk about the different varieties and types that I like to use in our. Okay, so I gathered a good variety that I have currently growing in the garden. My roses are still blooming, but I recently cut them, to be honest, a few days ago, so I don't have any examples there. But I'm going to talk about the 4 different types of flowers that I like to include in arrangements. So the number 1 is your focal flower. So this is going to be literally the star of the show. I think of this as my bigger blooms. So seasonally, in the spring, I have a lot of peonies growing around my garden. So typically I'll use peonies as a focal flower. And then as we cruise into summer too, some other examples are dahlias. As you can see, I have a wide variety here. So much variety to be had. And then I also do roses as a focal flower. And then sunflowers are great too. Just your really big blooms that are gonna be the star of the arrangement. Second category is your supporting or kind of secondary flower. So it's all about having a variety of shapes and sizes within your arrangement to give it dimension and just interest as well. So for supporting flowers, I like to categorize these as ranunculus in the spring, anemones, tulips as well are really great supporting flower, things like that. And then moving into the summer months too, some examples that I grow are zinnias. So these are really beautiful. They come in so much variety. So all different colors, sizes. So I'll kind of give you a more close-up of this, but yeah, this is just, again, you can get oranges, you can get these smaller sizes as well. You can get, brighter colors too. It all depends on your color palette and taste. I like to buy flowers based off of sizing. With zinnias, I do like the Queen Anne's as well. I think that they are just bigger, so those could almost be a focal flower at times, but yeah, I think that's a great supporting flower. And then just to give you a quick tour of the dahlias as well. So much variety to be had, all different shapes and sizes. You have your ball dahlias, which I really love. And then there's just, again, so much variety. I really shop for dahlias based on what I just find appealing. I don't really have any rhyme or science to the dahlias that I pick out. I just like to have a variety of colors, shapes and sizes to add to my arrangements. So back to supporting flowers, cosmos are also a great supporting flower. So I'm going to pull some of those out. These are actually some more zinnias as well. They're really pretty. I'm going to add those in here. And then cosmos, again, come in such a variety of shapes and sizes as well. You do have the single, which I will show you. I grew these in white this year. I also have this pretty burgundy color too. And then these are kind of the double click, but they're also just really beautiful. And they just dance really nicely in an arrangement as well. I think they're just so pretty. So that's another great supporting flower that I grow in my garden. Let's see, what else? And then again, those supporting flowers in the spring, which aren't in bloom right now, it's October for me, are ranunculus, tulips, daffodils, anemones. Like there's such a variety to grow in the spring too, to really keep them coming into your house all season long from start to finish. And then for other supporting flowers, I do love these like straw flowers. One great thing about straw flower too is that they have such a fun texture to them. I grew this burgundy color this year, but they also last forever. So like once your arrangement starts to die off, you can really pull these out and just have them in your home and let them dry, and they will remain and keep their shape and color, which is really lovely. So diving back in, the third element that I always like to include in my arrangements is some form of like texture. So whether that's through your greenery, things like explosion grass or like bunny tail, there's so much to be had there in the greenery side, but I also just love a pop of texture. So my favorite textural elements that I grow in my garden, I will show you. So this is hanging amaranth. This is really pretty. I chose a green color, but again, there's so much variety and color to be had with this one. But it really creates a beautiful like cascading effect in your arrangements that you can kind of hang off the edge of the arrangement, and it just gives it more shape to it. Another supporting greenery that honestly grows pretty wild here is Queen Anne's lace. They do have this as well in like a burgundy type color or purpley, that is really pretty as well, but I have so much of this growing just wildly in and around my yard. And then the third one I really like to grow is celosia. This is such a pretty color. It has, I'm trying to see if I can get it to focus. It has a really like pretty like pink tinge to it. You can see if I can get it to focus, which I cannot. But it's stunning. It like is so pretty, and it kind of adds like a layer too to the arrangement and lets it stick out. So diving back in, the fourth element that I always try to include in an arrangement is something that kind of like gives it height. So I call it sticky outies. A joke. I actually learned that from a fellow florist friend when she was initially teaching me about floral arranging. It's kind of stuck with me. It's very cute. I tell my kids to like, oh, go grab some sticky outies for the arrangement. But for that, I like to use different things. So the only thing I really grew in my garden this year is snapdragon, and I am new to this and learning, but it is really pretty, and it just adds that extra height and layer to the arrangement. So that's one of my favorites, but you can do like stock. There's so much variety to be grown that will give it your arrangement that height. Stock delphinium is really pretty. I haven't quite navigated that yet. I'll try to link some others below too, because I'll categorize these in the descriptions that you can see where to source them and grab them. But really the combination of the focal flower, your supporting flower, a textural element, along with some height, whether it's through your greenery or it's through like something like a snapdragon. Honestly, the celosia too could be a great sticky outie as well. Aside from giving it texture, it can give it height too. But really there's so much dimension and interest when you combine all four of those elements into an arrangement. So I'm gonna make one soon in the future here, and I'll show you what it looks like finished. But those are really my top four categories that I always try to include in my cutting garden. I do also have a rock bed garden where I'll grow perennials that will come back year over year. So hydrangea, I really like to use those within arrangements. Those are a great focal flower. So outside of my cutting garden, I have another wide variety that I grow in my rock bed that really just adds interest, but also is a little bit less maintenance. It just comes back every year as a perennial, which is lovely. So that's another option. But yeah, next I'm going to kind of go through and talk about how I grow these and when to start them and just some basics. I will certainly dive in when I do the flip for my garden. So I'm right now in the first week of October, but in 3 weeks, typically last week of October, first week of November, I'm hoping to get a few more weeks of blooms here. Is whenever the first frost hits is really when I go through and transition my garden and start planting the spring bulbs I talked about earlier. So I'll talk through that, but first I just kind of want to navigate right now what I have on the table and how I typically. Great. So I just want to dive into how I grow each of the flowers I talked about, and also talk about you know, the varieties. So we can talk through dahlias first. I'll start with the focal flowers that I talked about. So with dahlias, how I grow them within my raised beds is I'm in garden zone 6A, so we do get a pretty cold winters and frost. So with my dahlias, I plant them as soon as last frost hits. You buy them in a bulb variety. Again, there's so much to be had. Definitely look into your local farms. And also I go on a lot of like Dahlia Facebook pages, and we'll look and see when a sale goes active. Of course, make sure they're credible by looking into them first, but then you can kind of go through and pick out what you want. And then a lot of times they'll ship based on your growing zone. So these arrive to me around end of March, beginning of April, and then again I plant them after my last frost date, which is typically like towards the end of May. But you can certainly, Floret Flower is amazing. She has a lot of tutorials. I'm happy to share my journey, and I'll be digging my dahlias up soon in November, so I'll certainly take a video of that and what that looks like, because you can store them over winter and then use them again in the spring. They also multiply like crazy. So my inventory for dahlias has gone nuts in the last couple years. So much so that I give some away, but I also have just been planting them anywhere I can within my 2.5 acres that I have. So it's been a really fun journey with dahlias. Another great focal flower is sunflowers. So you have single cut varieties that grow one beautiful sunflower and you cut it and it's done. But then you have branching. So I like to grow both, but I typically source my seeds for branching through Johnny Seeds. And I'll kind of give you an example here. One of the things I love about growing with Johnny Seeds is they are so great about telling you exactly what you need to do, especially if you're new to gardening, which is so helpful and has helped me through my journey so much. So I'm just going to flip this over to try to give you a really good look. But you can see it tells you what it's good for. So it says excellent cut flower for garden beds. And again, sunflowers are in my top 3 easiest flowers to grow, really. I direct seed all my sunflowers and they do wonderful. So single stem varieties, it'll tell you how to grow. So if it says direct seeded, and then you can see it says recommended. So that's certainly what I go to do, but and then it tells you exactly how to plant it as well. So you can see it'll tell you light and soil requirements. So you need direct sun. Most of my raised garden bed is in direct sun because most cut flowers do require that. And then it says exactly how to space them. So for single stem varieties, you can space them 4 to 6 inches apart. But then for branching varieties, you want to give them more spacing, and 18 to 24 inches apart. So this is really important as you map out your garden, especially if you know the dimensions of your bed. Mine are 4 by 8. So this really helps me kind of plan this out in advance before I go through and direct seed. And then harvest is really great too. So flesh flowers can be harvested tight when color first shows and when almost completely open. So this will give you the maximum vase life as well, which is so helpful. So again, I love sourcing my seeds from Johnny Seeds. You cannot get more information than they give you on the back of these seed packets. And it's just extremely, extremely helpful for growing. So those are sunflowers. Another focal flower that I grow, like I spoke to earlier, was peonies in the spring. They are expensive when you first invest, but what's so great about peonies in my zone is I can just leave them in the ground and they'll multiply year over year and keep coming back. So I have a lot of them in my rock bed because they just add such beautiful color in the spring. And I have quite a wide variety of peonies in there now, and I'm hoping to add to that as well when I go out and go ahead and plant them soon in the late fall. So diving into so sunflowers, peonies, dahlias, and then my roses. So I invested last winter in 6 bare root roses from Grace Rose Flower Farm, and she has incredible varieties and options. My favorite that So diving back in, so bare root roses, I bought 6 of them this past winter from Grace Rose Farm. And she really has wonderful tutorial videos on how to, one, just initially get them into the ground, and two, how to continue to keep them active and blooming and fertilize them and take great care of them. So I highly recommend checking her out. Roses are such a beautiful addition to your garden, whether they're just in your landscape or you add them to your formal cut garden like I have as well. I have both. So my favorite that I bought from her this year was like a golden mustard rose. It's beautiful. So yeah, just absolutely love. So it's beautiful color. Honestly, the smell is amazing to bring into your home too, depending on if it's like a garden rose type variety. So yeah, 10 out of 10, buy that this winter. I planted mine, I want to say it was like the last week of March, first week of April, again in Garden Zone 6A. So it's going to depend where you're located, when is the best time to plant roses. But yeah, I highly recommend those. And then diving into our supporting flowers. So zinnias, so easy. These also... Okay, so diving into our supporting flowers, I'll start with my spring and then summer because I think that's easier to chat about. So with spring, anemones, ranunculus, tulips, daffodils, hyacinth are a great option too. And then I love muscari too for some texture. But what I will typically do with at least the tulips, the daffodils, hyacinth, muscari, is I plant them after the last frost date here. So as soon as I dig up my dahlia bulbs, they then get replaced with all of those spring bulbs I just spoke of. And then I can just put a nice new layer of compost on top as well, and then good to go. And they'll come up beautifully in the spring. So super easy, highly recommend. You can grab bags of them. I like to shop again at like local farms, or again through like other floral Facebook groups to support other local farms. So that's always a great option. And then for our more supporting flowers in the summer, I'll dive into those. So zinnias, truly the easiest flower to grow. If you want to start somewhere, I highly recommend. So many shapes, sizes, colors, and options that you can grow. With zinnias, again, you just direct seed. I probably have an example in here, possibly. I don't know if I do, but again, if you buy from places like Johnny Seeds, it'll have exactly on the back. It'll tell you the spacing, it'll tell you how deep to plant the seed, and all of the information. So definitely check those out. I'll link some options below, and you can explore and pick out what you like. Diving into other supporting flowers, cosmos. They're also one of my top easiest flowers, I think personally, to grow in your cut garden. They cut and come again all summer long, and there's so many varieties and colors to be had. They offer such a beautiful like dancing element to your arrangement like I spoke to before, but I'll link some of those below. I do direct seed after my last frost date, so typically like towards the end of May. Other supporting flowers that we spoke of, I'm trying to think right now. I think that's most of them from what I can remember. My brain is fried. My daughter's napping. We're both a little sick, so it's been a tough day. Awesome. So other textural flowers. So I just started for the first time last year growing indoors to really be able to add more variety to my garden. So flowers that I grow indoors before bringing them outside into my garden, and happy to share that setup with you. I'll link below what I use. I truly just have some shop lights, a wire rack, and I water them regularly, and I have some great seed trays too, that you can pour water on the bottom, and they kind of water the flowers from underneath, and help them kind of get that kickstart and grow. I'll also share like the starting fertilizer and soil that I use for growing too. But things that I grow indoors, I would say is celosia. So this here, I love her place. I love to get flowers, and she just had a sale, and I think it might be her last, but Floret flower, I mean, like how gorgeous. Like her varieties are truly unique, but she offers great instructions on how to grow. So you can see here for celosia, you want to grow it 4 to 6 weeks before your last frost date. So again, this all depends on where you are located. So you'll want to look up that last frost date before you go ahead and start. It does say you can direct seed, but the only thing with that is you won't get as much production, or the production of it will come later in the season. So that's why I like to start this one indoors. But certainly if you're just getting started and you want to just give it a shot, go ahead and do that. Another supporting flower over here is Scabiosa and Amaranth. So Amaranth I have here from Johnny Seeds. Again, just showing that back real quickly, but this one I do start indoors. So I'll tell you exactly how to transplant it. And you want to start that 4 to 6 weeks. So one of the things I do is I like to use just a regular calendar, and I will put on it like what I'm gonna start at that 4 to 6 week mark. And I'll go ahead and start like kind of doing my trays based on like what I scribble in on my just regular calendar. Honestly, it works for me. It's super easy. So other things that I grow in advance. So Snapdragon is another one that I grow in advance. And with this one, you do need more time. So that's 8 to 10 weeks in advance. Strawflower as well is in that 4 to 6 week category. And then Marigolds is a nice supporting flower as well. This one I do 4 to 6 weeks in advance. Let's see. So that's really all you have to do is just kind of take your time and explore and look. Again, buy from places that give you all of the tools you need literally right on the back of the packet. It's so nice. But I just think all of these are such great varieties. Another greenery I wanted to call out too that I like to grow is Mahogany Splendor. I think it's a beautiful color. It's like a very like deep burgundy. I also grow a lot of different kinds of basil. Basil is so easy to grow. You direct seed that as well after your last frost. And that can be like purpley colors. It can honestly have like little flowers on it to add little variety there. But so easy, and it adds a beautiful smell to your home too. I'm all about not only bringing flowers inside, but also bringing in the smell of flowers. So with those garden roses, they smell luxurious. Adding a hint of basil into your arrangement is just so fun and beautiful. So really, truly, you can play around with it, make it your own. Another variety that I forgot about right here is Scabiosa and Gumfrenia. This adds a fun textural element, so I'll bring it over. So this is our Gumfrenia. Just adds like a fun color pop to an arrangement. And then Scabiosa comes in so many colors and varieties. I also love the Scabiosa like balls too. But so many colors to be had here, and it's just such a fun texture to add to an arrangement. So yeah, that is all I have for today. I really just wanted to talk about the different elements that I use in arrangements. I actually started my journey as a florist and then turned cut flower gardener because I like loved sourcing colors and doing that. So the idea of being able to like pick it out myself and really kind of curate my garden to whatever I want to grow and whatever colors I love. And I'm all about color, clearly. I have friends who have done like all white gardens, and that's beautiful in their taste, but I love as much color as possible and playing around with it. So I plan to continue to expand and grow this garden. I would one day like to make it beautiful too. Right now it's more just functional, but such opportunity with cut flowers. They're beautiful. And I hope that you found one that you think you'd be interested to grow, and can go ahead and take that leap. And again, it could be just around your mailbox. It could be a small patch in your front yard by your front door. It doesn't have to be this grand thing. I have literally 8 beds right here, and I get so much from them. And while I hope to continue to grow and build more beds, I do have a small patch of direct sun on my property. It's very woodsy, as you can see behind me. But yeah, thanks so much for hanging out, and I am gonna go ahead and make an arrangement, which I'll pop into another video because this one's very long, and hope to see you in the next one. Bye.